Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. This is episode 553. We've got a real close friend of the show coming back. He's a member of the WP-Tonic panel, where we do our Friday show. It's Vito Peleg back, and he's the founder of WP Feedback. I also got my great host, Stephen Saunders. With Vito, we're going to be discussing what he has learnt from launching a premium WordPress plugin and service. It's been almost 18 months ago when he decided to go down this amazing journey. He's one of the most intelligent founders I know, and just a really nice guy, and a newfound father as well. He hasn't got enough on his plate. Like I say, I've got my great host, Stephen, as well. Stephen, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Stephen Souter. I'm from zipfish.io. We make WordPress fast by optimizing both servers and the code.
And before going into the main part of the interview with Vito, I just want to talk about one of our great sponsors, and that is Kinsta Hosting. Kinsta Hosting is a premier WordPress-only hosting provider. If you've got a WooCommerce site, you've got a learning management system like Lifter LMS or LearnDash, you need powerful and reliable hosting, and that's what you get with Kinsta. Kinsta's been sponsoring the show for a couple of years now. We host the WP-Tonic website. I've been totally happy with their support, the speed of the website, everything's been great. Go over, if you're looking for a new host for yourself or for clients, go over to Kinsta, have a look at their packages. I suggest you should buy one. And if you do, please do the show a favor and tell Kinsta that you heard about them on the WP-Tonic show. So, Vito, so like I say, it's been 18 months, and I imagine those 18 months have gone quickly.
Yes.
To start off the show, is there any kind of one thing that has come up that you didn't expect, that you really didn't think was going to be a major issue or a major hurdle that you would have to overcome in these 18 months that you like to tell the listeners and viewers?
So I first came into this project, came into WP Feedback from an agency. So I started as a freelancer, then built up an agency of 12 guys here in London. And then from there, we created this tool for ourselves as a way of scratching our own itch. And it was awesome. So we decided to bring it to the market. So that was kind of the order of things going up until that release. What we didn't count for was the fact that in the WordPress ecosystem, specifically in the WordPress ecosystem, every website is different. It would be on a different host, or would have a different stack of plugins, different developers coding the themes and the backend, and adding all kinds of different patches over patches. You come across websites with more than 1,000 plugins, 1,000 active plugins installed. So you see. You really get to see the behind the scenes into how people are using WordPress as you're dealing with with websites at scale, with customers at scale. That's something that I didn't account for that much. I know there's gonna be some because I can see from the products that I'm using that there's always those compatibility fixes, and every release probably has 1 or 2 compatibility fixes on it, on every plugin out there, right? So that is a challenge that we didn't account for when it comes to the vast amount of adaptations where you need to do for every single plugin that is out there, especially with such a front-end driven tool like ours.
Right. So before I hand it over to Stephen, so even though you're an experienced web designer developer and you've been running your own agency, it was still a surprise.
Well, we were running our own stack. Well, at least for me, it seems like our stack is good. Of course, I learned that there's other and better ways of doing it as well throughout this process compared to how we were doing it in the agency. But still, for us, it worked. And so, you assume that there's gonna be some of this, but not to this
magnitude. It was more larger and wide. Yeah. So you knew it was there, but you just So how did that affect the level of support? So did that really kind of affect the level of support and the amount of support that you had to give? Was that
exactly?
Is that why you're bringing it up? Because it had the consequences.
Yes. That's the result of it, you know, because you want your solution to work smooth on every stack out there, well, I know that I need to reach out to support for products that I use to handle my stack. So imagine getting that from tens of thousands of people. You know, those requests are going in. It's definitely something we haven't accounted for because the product itself worked, you know, when we were working on it. And I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but there's these tiny glitches here and there, and you want to make sure that everyone has a seamless experience. So this is one of the things that now for version 2.0, being aware of this thing, we're building the whole thing from the ground up with that in mind. And that requires a bit of out of the box thinking, especially with a tool like ours, to make sure that it is compatible throughout, you know, but it's just something that you haven't accounted for. And then throughout the year, you also have, it's not only the plugins that are out there, it's plugins that keep changing. So basically 2 months in, Divi released an update. So we had something that had to be sorted there. Then Elementor went out with a 3.0, and then you had to do something there. Then Gutenberg is all over the place. WordPress is releasing stuff, removing jQueries from stuff that you were relying on. So it's a constant game of you know, cat and mouse, basically.
Sounds lovely. Over to you, Stephen.
Yeah, it's hard when you're dealing with so many different stacks. I think it's so interesting how like so many companies are started from like solving your own pain point, right? Like as an agency, obviously, like it seems like this feedback loop, right, was the pain point that you experienced. You're like, oh, here's a great idea. But I think one of the huge challenges with that is how do you have an agency and build a product kind of at the same time? How did you guys manage that? Did you just like shut down the agency, or did you keep both running?
Right.
How did you prioritize that work? Because there's always that tension there in between like
Yes.
your internal projects and stuff.
And that tension like was happening all the way throughout the first year, even going into the plugin, because it's not, I didn't just stop the revenue stream. I had employees and, you know, stuff. You can't just say, okay, we're pivoting completely. But it was a transition that was completed after a full year of doing the product, which is a lot faster than I thought it would take, honestly, you know, because the product took off very nicely. So that allowed me to really push all of my focus just on the product itself. Starting this off, I was on a journey myself of trying to figure out the next step. So, you know, I went from that freelancer to an agency, and then we got to that there is a pretty much like 12 to 15 people agencies where you would see the growth stop, you know, or that's where it becomes very, very hard to push that rock up the hill, you know, to create a profitable business, not just a big business. So my path out of it was, okay, I need to scale up, and a product is the way to do it. Like custom services is only going to get you so far, or unless you really specialize and love it, you know, and you love doing those big deals and the big, working with the big clients that have the budgets to sustain a 7-figure, 8-figure type of business, you know, which was my goal to get to. So to me, I was already searching for what can I do? How can I move away from the agency model and scale up with something that is repeatable? And I was playing with a few different ideas. I was thinking of building a course because we're working a lot with nonprofits. So I was thinking of creating a course for teaching nonprofits how to go digital and stuff like that, you know, and I was really building that. And while I was building it, putting my attention, the agency kept coming back with stuff that needs attention. So I was kind of like, all right, I need to focus on this charity course. So how about we just do something like InVision, but on the website, so that we don't get all of this mess, you know. And I told this to my team, and I got them to build it out as a really scrappy version of it just for us. And that kind of was the initial process of building the
Oh no.
You guys hear me? Yes.
You froze.
Okay.
You froze
I'm
for a
back.
couple seconds.
You're back. You're back.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I'm still sorting out the internet here in the new place. So I was saying that we built it just for ourselves as a scrappy version. So I looked at it as like, okay, I'm gonna invest some resources out of my dev team, and then it's gonna save us time with clients. I had no idea that it's gonna work this nicely, like reduce so much time out of this. I was more trying to get this off of my plate because I wanted to do other stuff, but also trying to increase the profitability because I realized that this is something that is really chipping away into our growth. The fact that that projects have a deadline, but they don't really, so that was really killing the profitability within the agency, especially when it's at scale. And then you also have the function of trying to get different team members to do the same thing at the same, like follow the same procedures exactly. And that was also kind of a bit of a challenge as the team grew. So this was just like my quick solution to do it, right? But then once it worked for us, I said, screw this charity course. Let's see what I can do with this thing. And the entire few months, the way that I wanted to approach this was like we were doing a campaign for a client at the agency, because we were doing these launches all the time for our clients. So it was for really at the beginning, it was just another project out of like 15 that were in the pipeline at the same time. And we gave it the same kind of gravitas, but we just knew that it was our own. As soon as it exploded, like, within the first 30 days, we generated more than $100,000 in revenue from this product. And then I was like, okay, now I already forgot about this charity course. Now screw the agency. Let's just do this, and that was kind of my thought process. And then, we just stopped taking projects. It took some time to finish stuff. We still kept on, to clear out those care plan clients, the ones that we didn't really want to have. We kept about 20 care plan clients that are still running with us to this day. But to me, they are, because of WP Feedback, or thanks to WP Feedback, they are just passive income. There's nothing much happening there. And it gives us the opportunity to, get high on our own supply and still use the product on a daily basis. So we find the stuff before the users do.
Wow.
So it actually all worked together.
That's so cool. So like right now you've kind of completely pivoted. Your whole entire team's focused on WP Feedback. That's really smart.
We have one old sorry. We have one old plugin that we were still that we created during the agency days that is still selling, so we still support that. But we don't do any client projects anymore.
Nice. That's super cool that you kept some clients around though, like doing like care package kind of stuff. So you're using your own product, because I feel like it's oftentimes easy when you start building a product to just like get so into like, oh, this is the product that I'm building, and you're thinking about the user you're building it for, but you're never actually the user that's using it.
Yes, exactly. And that was super important for me, because if you're in the trenches, you know what's going on, you know the bugs, you know the product inside and out. And it's the same as, like when you're building a business as a whole, I always like to know at least some of what every function does. And this way I put myself through the pain, when I'm building a new process that will run through the business, I do it myself. And I like, even if it's painful and it takes a lot of time for a week or two, I do it so that I can figure out all of those different kinks so that when I pass this on or delegate this to a team member, it works. It's not just an idea of how it should work.
How did you decide to start building this solution yourself versus using like some of the other solutions that are kind of off the shelf that you can use? Like, I don't know, like one other company I'm familiar with is like Bugherd and stuff. But like, why did you say like, no, like this is something that I have to solve? Like, what was that driving force?
So we were already using some of them. We're using a InVision, and we tried to use UserBack. It was kind of happening on the on AppSumo at some point, so I got that deal over there. I realized early on that visual collaboration is the way to go, because everything that we're doing is visual, but yet there is no visual representation of it. It's all just words trying to describe a picture. So I realized that this was the way to go, and we were using InVision. But then we had a project that had like 150 pages that needs designing, like a massive project. And imagine doing this in InVision, where you need to take a screenshot of every page. Not only that, if there are tabs happening on the page, then it becomes like five screenshots. Every time you make a change, you got to take a new screenshot, bring it back in, move the stickers around, because it's all just graphic feedback kind of concept. So my idea was like, I need to bring the client onto the website so that we don't use any other tools, because every time you try to send the client to a different place, they will resist, especially if it's a brand new system for them. But to bring them to the website that they paid for is a lot more logical. So that's why we went down this route, and no one was doing it like that. No one was having it integrated into the website. And I also figured if we have it as a plugin that is sitting on the client's website, we can do it not only on the front end, like everyone was still able to do. We can build a backend feature, so you can train client on how to use Yoast, how to see use the new reports of WooCommerce, and all the new kind of stuff that keep being added into the system. And the main point is just keep bringing them back, to it.
Yeah.
So they wear the shoes. That's how we say it in the company. You got to get the customer to wear the shoes, unless it just stayed in the box. They're never in the person's mind if they're not on their feet.
Yeah. So your plugin works both on the front end and the back end. So like I could be like, hey, here's what you need to do on the back end, and here's what needs to happen on the front end, or ask questions, or engage that like in feedback and change things. That's super interesting. Exactly. I didn't realize that. That's so cool.
Yeah. So like the idea is to use this throughout, and as we're growing, the vision has broadened as well. So we started as, all right, we just need to build a feedback tool. But the way we look at it right now, and I think that this is one of the key points as well that I learned from this process, that you must have a very strong mission and a very broad vision. And this is something that I haven't accounted for at the beginning, because I was building a product, because it's like another thing. But once I saw the potential, and I saw the pain that our customers are going through, I felt the pain, but I had no idea that this is such a widespread thing, throughout the ecosystem. So I figured, all right, someone needs to step up and build the ultimate project delivery system. So instead of just focusing on the feedback, now the platform allows everything from the beginning of the project all the way to the support. And after we went wide, now we're going deep. So we created the base features for everything, but you can always make them more elaborate and add more stuff to it, and bells and whistles. So that's the stage we're at right now, pretty much.
Oh, that's great. We're going to go for our break. In the second half, we're going to be delving in Vito's journey in a bit more detail. We'll be back in a few moments. We're coming back. I thought we've had a great first half with our friend Vito, friend of the show, fellow panelist on the WP-Tonic Roundtable show. Before we go into the second half, I want to tell you we're doing a webinar with Uncle Spencer. You've listened to his advert, but we're doing a webinar on the Friday, the 11th of December this month, and we're doing it at 10:30 a.m. And what we're going to be doing, folks, is that we're going to be looking at Spencer's product launch flows, but we're going to go a step further. We're really going to delve deep in how you use launch flows with WP Fusion, and with probably either a native CRM or with a SaaS CRM. We haven't made our mind up. They'll either be with Fluent CRM or with Active Campaign. And we're going to be showing you how to build in WordPress a effective funnel that is basically better than ClickFunnels system. and we're going to be doing that live. So it should be fun. You can go to the WP-Tonic website. There's a button in the top webinar that says webinar. Just click it and you'll be able to sign up and join us on the Friday, the 11th of December at 10:30. It should be a great educational webinar. So, Vito, you know, in every entrepreneur, we all have this fantasy that we can dominate a market and it will just be us, and we can charge whatever we like and we don't have to take any notice of the competition. But that's not the reality. And, you know, if you're on your own in the market, that can also be worrying, because that could mean that there isn't any.
There is no market. Yeah.
There isn't a market. There is no demand. Now, I think it's fair to say we've got to be real here. You do have some competitors. You've got one main WordPress competitor. I think it's Project Hubble. And you've got a couple SaaS-based competitors. How much notice, you know, let's be real here, how much notice do you take of your competitors, and how do you position your own product in the reality of the market where you have these other competitors? Or don't you take any notice of them at all? You know, you deliberately don't look at them? Or...
Right. When we first started, we did go through and check out like what's happening. Actually, after we had a pretty basic product, we wanted to see how others are doing it before it goes out. So we did have a look, but no one was doing it in the way that we were. We kind of rethought the process of doing a plugin. No one had a plugin. Then some created a plugin over the past couple of months, right? Now the point of where I started with this was again with this visual feedback, and then I realized that this is just a part of the solution, and this is what is also offered throughout the market. So that goes back to the point of broadening the vision to create that competitive advantage over whoever is out there. So now we're not only competing with Userback and Bugherd and Project Huddle and this kind of stuff, where this is just a part of our system. And we're also competing with Trello, because we have our board systems in place, and we're also competing with Zendesk, you know, because it's a support system. And we're also competing with email, which is basically 78% of the market is still using email. So this is the real competition. You know, when you're looking at SaaS, it's not even that the remaining 22% are SaaS. It's that like 18% others is they have no system. Right, it's like on the phone and on whatever, you know, going happening on WhatsApp or happening on Facebook or everywhere. Basically, that's the no system method, and only about 3% are the tools that you're mentioning. So there's just so much to go around that I don't concern myself with this at all. Our users sometimes do, and so I need to jump in and say, like, just emphasize the difference of the vision, how we're looking at it from a broader, let's solve your project, instead of how we can solve talking to the client. That's done, you know, that's already done, and that's what you will see a lot with some of the other products out there as well, is that they kind of build it out and stopped, right? It's done, but I don't want to take this approach. I think that we're building like a platform that can, like you're saying, dominate. You know, this is like the entrepreneur dream that will dominate this industry in terms of delivering project. And I can't see why not. You know, in 5-7 years of us doing it, going 5-7 years in the future, I can't see why every project in the world will not be delivered through a system. You know, some type of system.
The only area which I personally wouldn't encroach, but I would try and work very closely with, is the leading CR project management platforms there, because if you take it too far, you'd be seen as a competitor.
Yeah, I'd like that. We're
all
already
right. You're gonna,
snagging users from Basecamp and Trello and Asana. They're leaving them and coming over because, and I'll tell you how our approach was there. We're not a project management system. We're a project delivery system. The tool is the project manager. It's not that you need to find how am I going to take this generic project management system and adapt it to my business where I don't know how to build a system. You know, like that's like the entire industry is technicians trying to figure out how to build a business. You know, it's like designers and developers trying to figure out how to run and grow a proper business. So we just said, all right, why should you learn? Let's just build a system that will do it, you know, for you, give you the system, give you the processes that you should have, that it's going to take you 10 years to even think of this stuff, you know, before they're even happening.
yeah, I see where you're coming from.
So yeah.
Over to you, Stephen.
So you've built this awesome product. It's ramping up, going awesome. You're growing like crazy. But I think like one of the things that I think is always hard to figure out is pricing and how you position yourself in the market. Like, where did you start? What have you learned? And how have you adjusted that as you've grown and like where you are now and stuff?
Right. So we've pretty much doubled or even tripled our prices already by now, by the time compared to the time that we started. I prefer to work with people that value the tool. And I see that in a lot of campaigns where, so now we did our Black Friday campaign. We gave away one free domain to everyone that wanted. We recruited thousands of people through this campaign. And now we'll see how we're gonna be able to upgrade them. And this is part of the journey, Stephen, of always be testing, right? So like, there was an opportunity in Black Friday to do something innovative and groundbreaking. Instead of doing 20% discount, we gave 100% on one domain, but we invested a lot into the upgrade path, how to get them from that free solution to actually a paying customer now in December, not during Black Friday. Because everyone was competing. And that again, Jonathan, you were talking about how do you look at competition. Black Friday is such an amazing example for both pricing and competition, because every business in the world is selling the hell out of what they have at the same time, you know. And you're basically competing for those $300 that a user has in their pocket that is allocated for their Black Friday spending. And that's it. Once it's finite, you know, once this budget is gone, it's gone. I
spent a lot more than 300.
Right? I spent a lot less. You know? Yeah, sometimes that's the average. I know. I heard of a friend that spent like 15K over the past week just on software, you know, buying stuff.
I had a bullet list that were offering lifetime. Most of them were offering lifetime deals,
right.
And that's, you know, as an agency platform provider, that's what I'm looking for, a lifetime deal. You know, there's one or two that weren't, but well, they were, but I actually hadn't tried out their product extensively. So I decided just to buy a year, and then if they were still offering the lifetime, I would probably consider it, but I hadn't tested it. But there's all different types of buyers out there, isn't it? It's a very diverse.
Well, that's true, but if you want to quantify them to that average, from what I know, that's around the $300 that a person would spend on software. I mean, specifically on SaaS related stuff.
Now, you know, there's a lot. I don't think you decided to go down the road, but there's a lot of criticism of people using AppSumo, and I understand the criticism, but I also think it's very crucial for not only to get cash flow in, but a much more important aspect, which might make it worthwhile looking at AppSumo. But I think you use different methods, but it's actually getting people using your products. in a scale where the feedback becomes relevant, it really, even with a lot of experience, you are only making you're making educated guesses, aren't you? It's nothing like getting the real users in that don't have any connection to you trying your product. Would you agree with that?
I agree with the fact that you must test and get feedback all the time from users. That's for sure. I don't agree with the AppSumo approach, especially for a young product. I think that well, you know what? Let me revise that. That depends on what type of product you're selling. So let's say that you have a plugin like the other plugin that we have. It's like a small WooCommerce extension that does a very particular thing. We only keep it up to date, but we don't develop it further, and so it's kind of static. You know, there's like 3-4 updates a year. Tiny ones. That would be amazing on something like AppSumo because the amount of support is minuscule, and you're just selling something that is already created. But which kind of negates the point of getting market feedback, because for that product I push away market feedback. You know, if there's a bug, we'll fix it, but any feature request, no, I don't want to deal with that. The purpose of the product is to be a side project, you know, and that would be great from AppSumo from a point of view of generating users, generating revenue, generating awareness for this product, not so much for the market research. But then a product like me, like you're saying, would need because we keep developing and we keep expanding with the main product, with WP feedback. So customer feedback is super important to collect all the time. The problem is that with a product like this, the AppSumo model just breaks. The cost of a user is higher than the revenue that you can generate from there, especially if they're taking 30 to 50 of even heard of 60% sometimes that they would take even before anything happened. But the support tickets are gonna come in anyway. So I wouldn't do it if it's a product that you see growing. Don't. If it's a product that you kind of like, all right, this is it. I created a nice function that people want. Then that's perfect for this. Is another marketing channel, and that kind of brings you to what you said about lifetime deals, because AppSumo is all about the lifetime deals. Same thing. If it's a small product that you're probably not going to get any much support around it, and you know, probably this plugin that we're running in the background, we're not going to be supporting it for years and years to come. It's not a big focus. It's just some money that goes directly to me at the end of the month. So it's a side hustle, and it's going to stay like that until it's going to die out eventually, basically, because it's not being pumped. There's no new energy being pumped into it. So that fine, lifetime deal, perfect. But if again, it's a product that you're developing constantly, lifetime deal is going to kill you if you don't do it right. And you have to sell just a few licenses and try to maximize the revenue from them, which is what we did as the initial launch strategy. Instead of going down the AppSumo route, which I researched thoroughly, because that was my idea as well. Awesome. AppSumo, they're going to love this thing. Going to put it out there, going to get 2,000 users, party, right? But then you do the numbers and you get so much headaches from 2,000 users. So we decided, all right, instead of selling it to 2,000 for $50, let's sell it to 200 for 500. And then you have a small group of really dedicated people because they invested $500 into it. And they really want it to work, right? Because it's a lot more than $50 that it didn't work, fuck, screw it. It's just gonna go on the shelf, on the SaaS shelf, right, of all the LTDs, that we all have a growing shelf like this. And
I'm very careful what I buy now.
Because of it, because the shelf has no room anymore.
No, actually, I had like a 3-4 month period where I was looking at I had a particular need, and I was buying a lot of stuff at AppSumo that seemed to meet the lead. And so I got about 4 to 6 on the shelf. but I don't. I'm much more fussy of what I buy from AppSumo
Now I
than
am. Yeah. I used to go all out. There was a new deal on AppSumo. You just go and check it before it runs out. The FOMO effect was very strong at the beginning.
But some people are very critical, but there still are some very interesting bargains to be had. You've got to be more.
To be honest, I haven't used one product I'm using from AppSumo, and I bought like 40. Which is Punit's product, which is I think Formify, right?
Yeah.
It says like these little widgets that come out. So and this is a perfect product for AppSumo, because who is gonna reach out to a support for a little widget that comes from the side,
We're gonna end the podcast part of the show. Vito's going to stay with us for another 10-15 minutes for bonus content, which you'll be able to hear and watch on the WP-Tonic YouTube channel. So go over there. I've got a lot of other videos on the channel. Go over to the WP-Tonic YouTube channel and subscribe. It really does help the show. I also want to do a shout out for Stephen's product. He's been helping us with some client and also with some of our own sites for speed generation, and him and his team do a fantastic job. So go over to Zipfish and have a look at what they can do when it comes to speed of your website.
Stephen, is that a product that you're offering, or is it like you're doing it as a service?
It's a service, isn't it?
It's a service. We do like, there's like a one-time optimization that we do as a service, or there's like a monthly where we take on like the hosting too and help manage the servers as well as all the front end code that's being loaded.
That's great.
Vito, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
Check out wpfeedback.co. And you can find me directly on Twitter, Vito Peleg.
Oh, that's great. And Stephen, how can people find out more about you and your company?
Head over to zipfish.io, run a speed test, see how fast you can make your website.
That's great. We'll see you next week with another great guest like Vito. But remember, bonus content on the WP-Tonic YouTube channel. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye.
So, Vito, you were saying, I think when you've got the wagon rolling, you've obviously proven the concept. You're still getting enough lead generation so you can invest in the product. Have you got any insights? Because how do you decide what are the areas that need further development? And how do you resist in building a Swiss Army knife that doesn't do anything that fantastic? It has a lot of features, but it doesn't. So it's too broad. It's a balance, isn't it? How have you dealt with that, Vito?
So our approach is, first of all, we went wide. So we went and looked at our vision, and the vision is how to make a project faster, right? So we just mapped out the project components and looked at the different tools or features that you would need to actually reach that desired result. That was as soon as we took away, as soon as we proved the concept for the feedback stuff, and we saw that people have problems with other aspects of the project, that was the step. Let's map out the entire solution and see what's going to happen. It's going to take 4 more years to go through the full roadmap that is being planned, mostly because exactly of what you're saying. You don't want to overwhelm users with too many starting points. And we did that mistake also at the beginning. We still have a timer that just tracks time, but you can't really see the information. So this is one of the things that definitely needs further developing. But then as we kind of reach to that point, it's like, okay, we have a lot of stuff already on our plate. Now let's dive deeper into each one of them, improving the Kanban boards, improving the stickers tools, improving the team tracking and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's I think that again, it all comes, at least for us, it came from knowing what we're after, you know, having that North Star of let's make the projects faster, and seeing like what does that entail. And I'm not up, I'm not scared, I'm not scared of building anything that will help fulfill that vision. Eventually, if it will become like a suite of stuff that help you do it all together, then that's cool. But it's going to take years because we want to make sure that each thing that we're releasing is as awesome as it should be.
Right, over to you, Stephen.
Whenever like you start building stuff, or at least I know, like when I start building stuff, like I inevitably make like mistakes or things that I had thought were true, and I go down the wrong path. But like I find that you learn so much more from like some of your mistakes and errors. Like what are some things that you did wrong that you look back and like, man, I learned a lot there?
Right. So when we first started and were selling, like hotcakes, it was like, all right, people are just loving it, let's just keep selling. So we focused a lot on acquisition and not enough on retention. And what we found is that it's not enough to get someone to open their wallet. You got to get into their daily workflow. And that is the key. You got to get them to use it so it doesn't end up on the shelf like we talked about before. And getting users to use it is very hard. It's a lot harder to get someone's attention than to actually get them to pay for something.
What were the two biggest things that you did to like try to get people to actually engage and use?
So we only realized that as we were getting to the end of year one, and we were starting to look into the renewals, right? Because that's where you want to see all of the effect of last year starting to happen. And what we found is that, and we were also kind of dazzled by the case studies. So because some users are showering us with, oh my God, this changed my agency and da 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 da. But then it's really easy to disregard the users that never activated the plugin. You can see if they installed it and activated. So they bought it and they never opened the box, So these are the ones that we started focusing on hard. And we made it, and we created a KPI that tracks how fast can we get someone to activate. But also at what percentage of the users that are joining. Just for the kind of just for the example, and when we first started tracking this KPI, we were hovering at around 20% activation, which is really bad, when you really think about it. Mm-hmm. And now we're at 96% activation rate.
Well, so the way I've dealt with it with my own platform, my own hosting platform, specializing in learning management systems, Vito, is for the first month, they can have unlimited access to me through Zoom. They can book as many half-hour Zooms, and that's a big commitment because some of them do have a lot of Zooms. Most don't, but some do. And I've never turned in that first month. I've kept my word, and they've had unlimited. Well, they have to book it through my calendar, so I have to be available. But I've kept that commitment. So that's our commitment to get them on board, help them get their learning management system set. We won't physically help them to do it unless they give us extra money, but we will advise them and answer. And I've been asked all sorts of crazy questions.
Yeah.
But so that's my commitment to my onboarding. So you said you had to look at your own, because I'm interested why you were surprised, really, because getting any client to use any project management process or platform,
it wasn't even the client.
It's hard, isn't it?
Right. So it is hard with project management systems because the client doesn't want to be introduced to yet another system. And if you really look at it, a standard website delivery process includes between 12 to 17 different tools that are introduced to the client within a span of 6 weeks. it's insanity. Like if your accountant would show you 12 to 15 different tools within the first month of you working together, you would kill the guy. But because we are savvy people, we kind of take it for granted that it's fine to take them and ask them to drop the files on Dropbox after going to the spreadsheet to insert the content after you listed out H1s to H5s on all of those things, and anything else can go on a Google Doc. But then we need to track the progress. So please log into your Trello account. I also created a customer login for you on my own website because I can. So I did, and like you bounce them around like basketballs, but never send them to the website, which is what they bought. So I agree with you. It's very hard to get the clients to use any of these tools. And the reason is because of that. And what we did is consolidated the whole thing into one system. So you don't need to train them more than go to your website. But the point to what you're talking about, it wasn't a matter of getting the end clients to use it. It was getting the agency to implement it in their business. And that was my kind of challenge. I love what you're doing with this thing. And this is something that I did. That was my first response. Let's reach out to all the users and ask them to book demos. Everyone that never activated the license, get them on a call with me. I'll show them how to do it. So I did about 150 calls like this. Which was amazing feedback as well for me to learn how people use or what they perceived is it's like 2% of what the product can really do for the business. So then based on this knowledge, we went on to Lifter LMS, and gonna give a shout out to Chris here that really helped me personally through this process also. And we built our WP mastery course, a WP feedback mastery course that takes them through each step and getting them that result, and I started becoming more obsessed about getting them to the results really fast. And so the activation is my KPI as to if they're starting to take action, but then I need to also get them past the first project to see that it shouldn't take 6 weeks, it can take 6 days. And then start publishing those results out. So that's why you see me posting all of those case studies from users. I tried to do. I had a call. Well, I had a call scheduled an hour ago, but the guy didn't show up, which also happens sometimes. But focusing on the result of the user has been like a massive change for the ARR, basically.
Over to you, Stephen.
Man, I don't know. It's really cool to hear what you've been saying about engaging with the customers and making sure that they have a process to onboard. Because it's always staggering or surprising to me how many people like start a process but never finish it. It shouldn't be surprising because I do the same exact thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But that's super cool. Do you guys have to do any education with the customer at all, or is it pretty the agency's customer, or is it primarily just you interfacing with the agency?
So the tool is meant to be self-explanatory, even though when you go for the first time, we take you through a process. The system takes you through a process where it asks who you are, and then shows you like a 2-minute video that trains you on behalf of the agency. And it also says like you made the right choice by choosing an agency that cares about actually finishing the project and not just starting it. And this is the system that we're going to be using throughout. So it keeps it calm and clear. And this is what is usually lacking from website projects.
Now, Vito, no, we've never met in person, but I do see you. I don't know, but I do see you as a friend, and you've given me some fantastic advice, and it's much appreciated. So, as a friend, I think I can be brutally honest with you, because hopefully, it comes from it comes from my heart.
Yeah.
I was puzzled when after your initial launch, you seemed to be trying to develop. I could understand the principle of it, that you were trying to build community around your product, but I was concerned that you were spending too much of your attention on trying to build community rather than trying to improve your product. And I couldn't quite understand where you were going with this attempt to build what seemed to be a
network.
very ambitious public statements around. On reflection, do you think that was handled a little bit wrong? And would you have done that a little bit different?
No, I still think it's the right path to go, and there is a lot of reasons why you want to do something like that, and especially if you look at high scale businesses that are running as a household name, they will have something like that. It is part of the model. Even if you're looking at Adobe, they have Behance, or you're looking at Microsoft, they bought LinkedIn, or you're looking at there's House for interior designers, and there's all kinds of stuff like this for different industries. Nothing was created specifically for ours, and so that's where I came from. To me, it also fit into the main vision, because I told you that we mapped out all of the project stages, and the one thing that I didn't want to touch is the actual build, the design and development. I said, all right, the entire ecosystem is focused on creating security products, features for WooCommerce, and all of that kind of SEO tools. I don't want to touch that. Let's not step on anyone's toes. Let's partner with them. But what I can do is I can bring in a connection between people as you're going through the build and needs support and needs advice. So that's where the community's idea came from.
But couldn't you have done, but on reflection, couldn't you have done that with a well-moderated and supported Facebook group?
Not to that same, I chose the hard route, that's for sure. It's not the easy way to do it. What really kind of messed the plan altogether, because it did mess up, the plan did go sideways, was COVID. So we launched this. I don't know if you remember, but I think we had a call and I showed you how it's going to work. And I remember you were skeptical even back then.
Well, skeptical, I understand why you use the word skeptical, because I am English and you've been living, I don't know how long you've been living in England now, but you know where I'm coming from. Secondly, I just thought but it wasn't for me. I didn't know you quite so well. So it wasn't for me to criticize or give you honest feedback. But I was very concerned that you were losing focus around the core of your product. And it's very easy to be defocused.
That's very true.
That was my main concerns. Vito.
I was for my kind of a standpoint. To me, it was part of the vision. It's just another component of the end product that I can push right now, and we're supposed to serve people. The trouble was, again, when we launched this. We launched this in the end of February. So March. No one cared about anything except for buying toilet paper, So the whole launch botched. I was supposed to fly to Thailand and do this there with WordCamp Asia, and I had partnerships. The whole thing just collapsed in the last week, of the before the launch. And then because COVID also. People decided we're going to buy toilet paper and we're going to cancel subscriptions. So everything stopped, the entire SaaS industry stopped for like for a couple of weeks. And that's when I said, all right, we're going to put this project on hold. People are still there and enjoying it, but it's not as awesome as it will be in a couple of years once we figure it out properly. But because also we were
I think just to thank you for all this extra time. I know because you've got a baby, you're running your business. I know you're busy, and you've got these onboarding calls as well. But what I think you're saying is that you still believe in what you wanted to do.
I still want to do it.
You still want to do it, but you might admit that you might have been trying to do it a little bit too early.
Yeah,
Would that be
that's
fair?
True. Yeah, that's definitely true. And, 2019 was such an amazing year. When it comes to I was on cloud number 9, is that how you say?
I could tell that you were actually, which is great to see.
It was just incredible because you know, I came from an agency where I didn't like it. You know, I didn't like the fact that you're building something and then it's gone. You know, and you never have this continuity of actually developing something good. You know, because the project just ends. So yeah, when that happened, I was like, you know, I was you know, flying. But then COVID brought me back to the ground and said, all right, you got to build a proper business. It's not just about making people smile and happy. It's about, you know, creating something sustainable
A
here.
little bit of both, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
You know, some business owners, you know, if you see them, you walk the other direction, don't you? Because you know you've had a bit of how they've treated you, and you've sampled what their real attitude is, and you don't
true.
really want to sample anymore. You don't wish them ill, but you don't particularly personally want to sample any more of it, do you? But I think we wrap up the show. Vito's been totally honest here. It's been great talking to you again, Vito.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for your personal support and coming on the Round Table show.
Of course.
You're always welcomed.
Thank you.
We'll have to have another interview later on in the new year and find out more about how your plans have progressed. We'll see you next week with another great guest like Vito. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
Bye.